23 minutes to 8 with Brian on Pacific Breakfast, Tuesday morning, the 21st of November. Over the last 5 weeks, we've been joined by Andrew Lovell, Managing Director of Home Ownership Pathway, taking us through the Home Ownership Pathway Bootcamp series. Over the last 5 weeks, we've covered managing your finances, KiwiSaver, credit, and looking for and submitting offers on properties, protecting the pathway, and mortgages. This morning, we cover the legal side, property conveyancing, and some of the legal basics when purchasing a home. To help us this morning, we're joined by Alistair Dew, partner at Blackwell's Lawyers Law Firm. Alistair has approximately 20 years or over 20 years legal experience spent in Auckland, London, and Sydney, and was previously a partner in another Auckland legal practice. A very warm welcome to the show this morning. How are we doing, gentlemen? Good?
Excellent.
Very good. And Alistair, is it correct? Ni hao ma, hoan nghênh tao chơi lại.
That's right.
Very good. That's just for you. You're welcome. Share. So why don't we talk about, we're talking about conveyancing. Firstly, what is conveyancing?
Conveyancing is really the process around transfer of a property from one person to another.
So let's start off with actually engaging a lawyer, and I can get input from both of you on what is it that you're looking for in a lawyer when you're looking to go through the whole purchase process and the legal side of things.
Yeah, well, as we've covered before, when we get to that sale and purchase agreement side, that's a basic legal document. So when you go through the real estate agent and you engage with your mortgage broker as well, who's going to say, well, yes, we can achieve a deposit or achieve that level of finance. And we've then been told to put our conditions down on our sale and purchase agreement. So what we need to do with that sale and purchase agreement is take that to our independent or our own lawyer who's independent of the whole process. So that's when we engage someone like Alistair, who will then look at that document and say, or give us some advice around some of the conditions that we've used or haven't used, and give us as many options as we can so we understand clearly and exactly what it is that we're getting ourselves into. So that's when we give a call, or maybe someone recommends a lawyer to us if we haven't got one, and then we engage with our lawyer and send through that document and start the process.
Alistair, when we're talking about conditions and things like that, and advice from your part in the process, can you tell us about that?
So, yeah, I mean, I guess the first thing is, you need to make sure that the agreement has the conditions that you need. So if there's further things that you need to investigate or check, then you need to make sure that the agreement has those conditions. So the most common conditions are finance, and then there's checking the LIM report from council, there's building inspections, and then there's some others that are sort of perhaps less common but becoming more common, things like getting a meth test done. Yep, because that is obviously an increasing problem. So the main thing is to make sure that you have all those conditions in there so that if there's any problem later with some of those aspects, then you can cancel the agreement.
Where are some of the areas or main areas where people can sort of fall flat, or where, the legal side, where people fall flat when it gets to this part of the process in terms of purchasing a house?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing is, as Andrew was saying, you do need to make sure that you get legal advice on the agreement before you sign. When the property market is very busy and you see a property that you like, sometimes the agent can perhaps put a lot of pressure on you to say, hey, you need to sign now, otherwise you're going to miss out. But you got to bear in mind that this is, for most people, the biggest investment they will ever make, and you have to be careful. And, I've seen many, sad stories of people signing up for something and then hasn't had all the conditions that they need, or they haven't got everything checked out, and it's come back and been a big liability for them later. So you have to make sure that you get the agreement checked and that it covers off everything that you need to be covered off, really.
Yeah. Andrew?
Yeah, just to stop disputes or that feeling later on down the track where you feel like you've been either ripped off or you've had to fork out for, say, building repairs or something like that. And so I mean, buying a home is something that you really want to enjoy and get that feeling of, hey, I really love this and enjoy this feeling, but you don't want to get that down where you're kind of like forking out for building repairs or something that you never thought was possible. A good example could be leaking homes, frames and stuff that are needing X amount of dollars once you get a proper builder's report in. So, you know, little things like that can always come back and bite you. So, yeah, going through a stage of due diligence. So due diligence is an important word.
Exactly.
And, you know, using that clause in the condition as a condition covers a wide range of aspects, but, you know, we take the advice from a lawyer, your legal side, and still go with the main ones: due diligence, subject to finance, subject to a limit report, and builder's report, and MFT. So that way you're kind of protecting yourself. If you get to that stage, you've still got 10 to 15 days to do all those due diligence and those kind of checks, and just to make sure that you're protecting yourself and you can get out of that that offer, and move on to something else quickly.
If there's, say, like you get to the point, Alistair, where it's, you know, all good to go, and then all of a sudden, you know, maybe the agent representing the owner or that they come in and they're trying to, you know, put other conditions through. Do you ever get cases like that right up until the signing, that someone could introduce something where it's like, oh, okay, hang on a minute, you know, you have to sort of reinvestigate or do your due diligence before you're confident of, you know, going through with the purchase?
I mean, for sure, unfortunately, that does happen for whatever reason. Things are put in at the last minute. So you that's, again, coming back to the fact that you can't sort of just succumb to the pressure and just say, oh, well, okay, let's just get it done. We don't want to miss out on the property. But you have to just take a deep breath and just take your time and speak to a lawyer, speak to advisors about what any changes to the agreement are going to mean for you, and whether you are actually in agreement with them, and only sign if you are happy with everything in the document.
I like that. You know, only if you're happy. But yet this word keeps on coming up, and it's been coming up over the last 5, you know, however many weeks, this thing about emotion. Can you talk to me, Alistair, please? Because, I mean, you know, both of you combined, I mean, how many countless people, just the way that emotion can impact someone when they're, you know, this is the dream house. I've seen it in a vision when I was 6 years old. You know, it's got the white picket fence. It's got everything I've decided. I want it. I don't care what it takes, sort of thing. But then what are some of the consequences if, you know, they don't do their due diligence?
Yeah, I think it's looking at the pros and cons of every little aspect of a condition or that the lawyer presents back to you. So going through the pros and cons of, let's say, well, if we go ahead with this is the consequences, these are the pros and cons, and just understanding clearly what your position is on each and where you stand in regards to those pros and cons. So it could be that you get a builder's report and all it needs is a few tiles on the roof. Well, that's fine, because you know that you're getting a home kind of thing. You're getting a home at the end of the day, and you're willing to, you can do that. But if it needs something like a $30,000 or $60,000 repair or MEF test or something like that, or whole clean out, then obviously you're better off looking at the pros and cons and saying, well, look, I'm better off going on to the next house.
Yeah, I think Andrew's hit the nail on the head, really. I mean, no property is ever going to be 100% what you want. There's always going to be pluses and minuses with each property, and advantages and disadvantages. And you talked before about, you know, the emotion, and, you know, I've had clients in the past, they've got a baby coming up, you know, they want to move and be settled in before the baby comes, and that can put a lot of pressure on, oh, I have to find a place, otherwise it's going to be too disruptive moving later. And sometimes that's a bad combination because then they make bad decisions. I guess our role as lawyers, advisors, is to tell everybody about the you know, the advantages and disadvantages of this property. Ultimately, the client has to make the decision at the end as to, like Andrew was saying, if there's something that's not quite right with the property that might need to be changed, then advising them of that. So as long as they get the advice, know all the information, they can make the final decision in the end.
Alistair, if I'm, you know, looking to engage a lawyer in the whole buying process in there, and I don't know anything from anyone, from Adam, etc., what is it that I am looking for in a lawyer to ensure that they have my best interests at heart?
Right. Well, I guess you should be talking to a lawyer who has some experience in property. And the main thing is to probably have some engagement, a conversation with the lawyer, and make sure that you understand one another, you get along with one another, and that you have a relationship with them. So whenever I'm meeting new clients or dealing with new clients, that's what I'm concentrating on, building a relationship with them, because a lot of it is trying to get to know the client and establish a sort of rapport with them so that then you are able to better give your advice and tailor it to their kind of personality. And the more you find out about them, the more you know about what their key sort of concerns are going to be and how you are going to help address them. So it's all about relationships, I think.
I like that. Also, just continuing, maybe digging a bit deeper on that, Alistair, in terms of what would we say would be sort of like an average period from, engaging a lawyer to, the sort of signing on the dotted line, hey, enjoy the rest of your life in your new house, everything's taken care of. And the big one, I suppose, what is a sort of, range in terms of, spend that you would be looking at for, a lawyer's services?
First of all, the sort of time that the whole process takes, it varies a lot. So we get some people coming in and saying, I'm going to an auction tomorrow, and can you look at all of these limb report, auction terms? We're going to the auction tomorrow. So obviously that's a rather condensed time frame. I guess on average, there might be a couple of weeks leading up to signing the agreement, and then a few weeks working through the conditions. And then there might be maybe another 3 or 4 weeks till settlement, so preparation for settlement, getting all the finance in order. So I guess, if things were going along a normal course of running, it could take a couple of months. But others can be less than a month. Yep. And that's assuming that the first property that you sign up for is a suitable one. Of course, we have many people who have to look for many, many months and go through many offers until they find the right property, and that's just what you have to do. You have to make sure you have the right property.
Are we able to talk about the sort of price range you would be looking at, or is that just as varied as how long it would take to,
A little bit the same. So I guess, to be honest, our firm doesn't do fixed price conveyancing. I know some firms do. I guess every firm is different. So we do charge for the time that it takes. We have some sort of rough guidelines we can give you, but what we would tend to do is a client will come to us at the start of the transaction and say, I'm looking at buying this. And then at least then we know roughly what they're talking about, because costs can differ whether really it's an apartment. Some people are buying new properties off a plan, and there's a lot more involved with that. Some people are using KiwiSaver, and there's more work involved in that. So we will tend to, like I said before, talk to the client about what they're doing, get a whole scope of what they're planning to do. Then we can give them a more accurate idea of what's involved and then the costs involved.
And the thing I like about what Alistair said is it's important to have a legal firm or representative that has an emphasis on attention to detail, which is really great. That's why we engage with Alistair. But also when you look at mortgages and banks, and most of them are offering some kind of cash incentive as well. So they can offset that, that money to pay the legal fees as well.
Sorry, can you touch a bit more on that? Cash and incentives?
Yeah, well, when you get to that stage and the mortgage broker's shopping around and he takes your case to different banks, they're going to offer a cash incentive between $1,500 to about $2,000, and that money is used kind of like for you to come to that bank. But also, in normal cases, people would pay that money to the legal costs to settle the deal.
Nice. Before we go, gentlemen, some final points to leave our listeners and our viewers on Facebook with.
Yeah, clarity, attention to detail, good relationship, rapport. These are all key words when you're dealing with your legal advisor, and looking at the pros and cons of every condition or everything that they put forward to you. If you're working with family and you're going to be using things like gifts, we haven't really touched much on gifts. Gifting is a common thing that's happening now, working within families to help purchase homes. So we'll probably touch on that at a later stage if we haven't got much time. But all those key words that I've mentioned are very important. So rapport, understanding, and clarity.
Nice. And for yourself, Alistair?
Yep, I think the key thing is get legal advice before you sign anything. Make sure that you know what you're signing, and it always helps to get a lawyer involved sooner rather than later. Preparation is key for sort of every step in the process, really, whether it's, talking to Andrew about finance, mortgages, all that kind of thing. Same with legal. Get your advisor involved early, and then you can all be prepared, and then you have all the information available to make the right decisions.
Alistair Dew from Blackwell's Lawyers Law Firm, as well as Andrew Lovell, Managing Director from Home Ownership Pathway. A very big thank you for your time this morning, gentlemen.
I've got a present for you, for your car, for this weekend.
Well, yeah, that'll have to go in the other window, but I've already got my whole van covered. But we'll hold that up, okay then?
We'll give it to you as a present, mate.
Wow.
And we'll wish them luck this weekend.
There you go. Mate maa tonga indeed. A very big thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It is 7 minutes to 8. Coming up next, our birthday dedications, Radio 531 PI, bringing Pacific people together.
I was looking for it.